Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. In this episode here, what I like to do is I want to explain a little bit more on the reason why, you know, about the JFK assassination, put it that way, and the reason why I have trouble with a lot of stories that surrounds it. Okay. Now, people, like I said, when they come up with their stories and stuff, when they sell their stories, a lot of people's using other people's research and stuff, and they're saying this is what happened that day and everything else. But there's no research behind it. And then you have the official JFK researchers, and even just like when people talks about the government and their official story in the Warren Commission report, everybody wants to say, "Oh, that's baloney and that's no good. It's all lies. It's filled with lies and stuff like that." This is what they say on the conspiracy side, that the Warren Commission report's filled with lies and all this other stuff and everything like that. So we can't believe them. So we have to believe the conspiracy people. It would have been a lot easier if the people on the conspiracy side would have done a little bit more, okay, would have actually put in a little bit more effort and pointing out some things and pointing out some facts and point things out that would make sense of stuff. Because see, when you got a story that you're telling, okay, as a researcher, okay, like I try to talk to some of these researchers and try to explain to them what I mean. But they look at me and says, "No, you don't understand." It's always I don't understand, but they don't understand. If they went ahead and did a little bit more an investigation and pointed out some things, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I was sitting there saying, hey, let me give a listen to this or give a listen to that. Like if a researcher come out and says, "Hey, you know, let's talk about the Zapruder film. Before we say it's altered, okay, I want to point out these facts here before people start saying this film was altered." Okay, the Zapruder film is a 16 millimeter film, but actually it's 8 millimeters on one side, 8 millimeters on the other side. You have side A and you have side B. Yeah, there were frames taken out of the film, but the frames that was taken out of the film was Mr. Zapruder's family and Mrs. Setzman and stuff like that in the office, and Mrs. Setzman talking to a couple on a bench on the other side of the grassy knoll there. Okay, if they explained it this way and said, well, when the film was done, remember they did a rush job on it. They developed this film within 2 or 3 hours, which actually takes about 4 to 5 days to do. But they did a rush job on it. Now, if they did this in detail and told people this and stuff like that, makes it more understandable. Makes, you'd be sitting there saying, well, at least they've done some homework on it. At least it looks good. But all of a sudden, they'll just come up and say, the Zapruder film was altered. And let it go. And that's it. Just one little thing. Zapruder film's altered. Let it go. But they don't give no details on why is it altered? Why did they alter it? Or anything else. There is none of that. But like as I point out in my research, I have to go into a little depth so people can understand about this film and why I say it's not been altered or anything. So I got to point all this out because so many years from people sitting there saying that this film is altered, this film is altered, this film is altered, it just messes up the whole thing. That's where everybody's been brainwashed. I'm sorry to say it that way, but a lot of people's been brainwashed out there to where the film's been altered. You can say anything you want to them. The film's been altered because they're fed that stuff year after year after year, which brainwashes them. But if they would have went ahead and went a little bit more detail and stuff like that, that's why I don't pay attention to what a lot of people says. Just like when they talk about, well, the tramps. Okay, the three tramps were the assassins. Okay, these guys here was behind the picket fence stuff. Instead of saying this is Charles Harrelson and this person, this is this person and stuff like that, trying to find a connection. Trying to find a connection that puts these guys as the assassins on the grassy knoll. Okay, by saying that they're gunmen on a grassy knoll, and by saying they're Charles Harrelson. We'll take this one here for a minute. Let's look at this. They said this guy here is Charles Harrelson, but then some researchers said this is Charles Harrelson, which you have the two people on the conspiracy side are colliding their stories differently. This one's Charles Harrelson, or this one's Charles Harrelson. Okay, this is why the official story from the Warren Commission report, people don't understand this, from the official report on the Warren Commission side, is more believable because they go in a little bit more depth, a little bit more detail than what these conspiracy researchers doing, because they're saying this is Charles Harrelson here. Some of them are. And then the other set's going saying, no, this is Charles Harrelson over here. Let's look at that for a moment. Here's an actual image of Charles Harrelson at that time. Okay, now as you notice, I'm not pulling an older image of him. Okay, because this is what they want us to believe. They want to take an older image of him, you know, from present time, basically, before he passed away, from present time, than when he was around in 1963. I have to look at it this way because, see, this will give us a lot more information because when people get older, their face starts changing. Their, you know, like their jaw area and stuff starts dropping, or their nose starts dropping a little bit, or it gets a little bit bigger, or one thing or another. This is called life. So we look at this for a moment, and we look at this, and we say, okay, well, this guy right here, this is Charles Harrelson at the time. Looks nothing like him. Hairstyle's not even the same. As you see, his comes around, his comes out and around and back in and around. Looks more like how Larry's haircut is on Three Stooges. Sorry to say it that way. Now I'm trying to be funny. Right? See, his brow's more rounded off and a little bit shorter. His is more longer here. See the hairline and stuff. The ears are totally different. Okay. His ears are more close together to his. His is out a little bit more. Okay. The eye structure. He's got markings, you know, like that ridge where your eyes close together and you got that ridge right there. He doesn't. Okay. The chin is totally different. Okay. So see, now when the people looks at a conspiracy side, they're going to say, well, that don't look nothing like Charles Harrelson. So these conspiracy people are crazy. These conspiracy people are nuts. Same as when they said this is E. Howard Hunt. And then they're going to sit there and look at this and say, oh, no, this is Charles Harrelson right here. Looks nothing like him. Okay. Even the hair color is different. Okay. Looks nothing like him. Then they said, well, it's either Frank Sturgis as well. As you see right here, they said it's Frank Sturgis. But like I said, they'll take an older image of Frank Sturgis and trying to add it into it because Frank Sturgis is older now. You know, you start getting a little bit more wrinkles. Your face structure starts changing a little bit and stuff. So they can try to prove their point. But if you take somebody's image from that back then, around that time, you're going to see it's totally different. So see, this is why I, you know, have a trouble listening to a lot of these researchers because they're not showing me nothing. They're not showing me no evidence. All they're doing is explaining a story to me. Okay. But it's like a story is just a story. A theory is just a theory. I want to see some evidence that collaborates with what we see in the films and images. Just like if a researcher sit there and say, well, when we study the films or when we study image, we got to study the people that's in the car. There was actually total 6 people in the JFK's limo, but we also have to look at that the limo was going down in a downgrade. And we also have to look at those people standing along JFK's limo. So before we come up with a theory about, you know, where that shot came from, we got to see the location of JFK's limo at the time, the position of the people in the car, just like right here. When we look at the position of the people in the car, we have a driver and a passenger look forward. We have Mrs. Connolly and Mr. Connolly looking off to the right because she's looking at him and he's looking off to the right. And then we have Mrs. Kennedy looking over right next to blocking his left flank of JFK because he's over here. Okay, we have to look at all this. But they don't go in this detail. They tell us this. This is what they pull up. And they say, hey, believe this. This is what they show us. JFK, Governor Connolly, or just JFK. Nobody else in the car. See, nobody else in the car. So see, now we can't believe. This is the reason why we don't believe on the non-conspiracy side. Because it's like, none of this stuff makes sense. You know, they're saying this and saying that. And they're showing this and showing us. But see, where's Mrs. Kennedy at? Okay, where's Mrs. Connolly at? Could this shot really occur? Is his seat really 6 inches in as they pointed? Is he really standing in that far? No, he wasn't. Because if you watch the films and you see the images and stuff like that, you'll see his seat's right against the door frame, as I point out in my research. Okay, that's called looking in more details. Okay, which they don't. And this is another thing that bothers me as well here. Just like we look at here. When I look at the JFK assassination case, I look at the JFK assassin case, as one case. I look at the Officer Tippit murder as one case. I look at Jack Ruby shooting Oswald as another case. So I'm looking at 3 different cases. But everybody wants to put all 3 of these cases into one. Which Jack Ruby didn't shoot Oswald on the same day. That was 2 days later he shot him. Okay, Officer Tippit was shot an hour or so after JFK was shot. Okay, so, and plus the murder scenes are in different locations as well. So you see, there's 3 different cases. Not one, 3 different cases. Now, if people on the conspiracy side explain it to me that way, I say, okay, yeah, I'm going to listen to you now. I'm going to listen to you because you're pointing out some stuff here that makes sense to me. Okay, that's making sense to me. Just like when he sit there and says, well, we got to put these three tramps as the assassins. How can we put the tramps as three assassins? They're going to say, well, here's Lee Harvey, here's Charles Harrelson, or what was his name again? Frank Sturgis. Excuse me, Frank Sturgis and stuff. They're going to say that's a conspiracy right there. That's because these guys are these person here. But, like I said, and I point out, well, can these be the assassins? That's what I look for. Can these be the assassins? And as I'm looking around, I'm looking and I'm like, wait a minute. What's this right here? Here's a butt plate of an imprint of a rifle on his left lapel. And there's initials AA right here. Right here. Butt plate from a rifle right here on his left lapel. Means he was firing a rifle from his left side. So I go look back in my files. And I noticed, hey, wait a minute. The gunman on the side of shelter number 3 was aiming his rifle from his left, firing his rifle from his left. And the hairline's the same, as you see right here. Okay? This is how a researcher is supposed to do. This is what a researcher is supposed to do, or an investigator, is supposed to do to prove their case. To prove their case, to say, wait a minute now. We have two gunmen inside shelter number 3. This gunman right here is firing his rifle from his left, aiming his rifle from his left, and here is this tramp here with a butt plate imprint on his left lapel with the initials AA on it. Well, let's look at the profile for a minute. Let's look from the Darnell film. Well, we see the hairline going back and around and coming around this way. Hey, that's the same thing as we see on this tramp right here. You know what I'm saying? This is the same thing we see right here. Let's see right here. Let's see it goes back in here and it comes around and it goes back in here. See the forehead here. See the hair right here. That's the same thing we're seeing right here. So now let's look over here. Well, we see the hairline again going around back. See the hair sticking up over here and here. And how the jaw structure is and stuff like that. Same as we see here. So now we have a match. Because now we know this is an assassin. Because we see him right here. We have a clear image of him with a butt plate imprint of a rifle on his left lapel. And we know this gunman right here, by photographic evidence, was firing his rifle from his left side, and a rifle from his left side. Plus, we also know as well that the assassin fits the profile of the gunman. So his profile fits, and everything lining up fits, just like this guy here. When we look at this gunman, tall tramp, look at this tall tramp, we can see the same face structures. Same face structures. Okay. Now, if they pull that stuff out, which, like I said, it's always in front of the public's eye. It's always been in front of the public's eye. If a researcher were to go in detail and say, hey, this is the connection between the assassination of JFK of the 3 tramps. Here's a connection. There was 2 gunmen inside shelter number 3. We could prove this by photographic evidence. How can we prove this by photographic evidence? Because the evidence shows us that this tramp looks like this gunman right here. That this tramp looks like the same profile and all, same hairline and everything else, looks like this guy right here. Plus, this gunman here from the side of shelter was firing his rifle from his left and aiming his rifle from his left. And this guy right here has a butt plate imprint from the bottom of a rifle on his left lapel. So if they explain that to me, I would say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and listen to this guy, because this guy knows what he's talking about, because he's giving me some detail. He's shown me the connection now. Okay, if I'm saying this is Frank Sturgis, or this is Charles Harrelson, these tramps, and I'm looking at him and I'm sitting here and I'm not seeing no resemblance whatsoever, or this is E.L. or the Hunt, then there's no connection there. There's no connection of these guys with the assassination. You can say whatever you want, you come up with any stories you want, but there's nothing there. But when you have photographic evidence showing the 2 gunmen and showing the shots they was taking and everything else, and you make comparisons to it, and you see that, hey, these guys line up with the 2 gunmen inside of shelter number 3, and by the left lapel and stuff like that, you're like, okay, now we have our connection. This is what I try to do when I do my research in JFK assassination. This is the reason why I have a hard time believing in other people's story. Just like when I sit there and I talk about this. Everybody wanted to push this one for years, which I'm going to pull up both of these images for once right now. They've been pushing this stuff for years. Okay, the badge man and the Mary Mormon photo. Okay, they're going to take their time, okay, and do a lot of tracing and color in that one little section there to reveal this right here. But also at the same time, they're going to say, well, there's another guy right beside him over here. There's another guy right beside over here. Who are these guys? Okay, if this is a construction worker over here, and if this is the guy supposedly doing filming the two stuff, why didn't they stop him? Why weren't they pouncing on him? Why wasn't they beating him up? Why didn't they have his gun out of his hand and stuff like that? But none of that. Just this gunman here and there. You know what I'm saying? Which I showed people that from that location, you cannot have a clear shot JFK from that location. But instead of doing that, if they're that busy, this is what gets me about this as well. If they're that busy looking at the Mormon photo and they want to trace this out, in this location, why couldn't they, let me zoom in, they're busy and taking this one section here and studying it so hard and everything else, and then they're going to start doing their tracing like so, like this, looking at it, doing out their tracing, putting a guy here, putting a guy right here, another guy right here, and then we're going to color all that in. If they're that much in detail, if they want to do that much in studying, all they had to do is just go like this. 1, 2, and there you go. If they want to sit there and put so much time in a little dinky image of a guy right back here, when the two gunmen was always there in front of them. So instead of concentrating here. Now, if I'm going to sit out here and do this much concentration onto this image here and say, well, hey, man, here is a badge man. And I'm going to study this much into it. Why didn't they study a little bit harder and just go over here and just say, oh, wait a minute, there's somebody there and there's somebody there. You know what I'm saying? You can see them. Plain as day, you can see them. And this is not the colorized image. This is the original black and white copy of the Mormon photo. We can see the guy right here and his rifle sticking out in his hands. We see the gunman right here. We can see that barrel of the rifle sticking up right here. Okay, we can see that. But there was too much concentrating on over here because they want a person over here. They want somebody behind that picket fence. When there's nobody behind the picket fence, they want to put somebody over behind the picket fence to match a story. Eyewitnesses say there was a gunman behind the picket fence. So they're going to concentrate on that picket fence as a researcher or an investigator. They're going to concentrate on that picket fence because we got to have somebody behind that picket fence because this is what the eyewitnesses tell us. But is the eyewitnesses telling us the truth? We got to think about that as well. Is the eyewitnesses are telling us the truth? Well, let's look at Jean Hill. Jean Hill. She says they had a dog in there. And she says she was, looking over in that direction when the shot was fired. Because remember, in her first testimonies, and even on live TV, she says, I heard the shots, but didn't see where the assassin, where the shots came from. But then, when she got a book deal and stuff, her story changed. Then she said yeah, I seen the assassin right behind the picket fence there taking a shot. So I'm sitting there, I'm looking at, okay, well, Jean Hill says in the first testimonies, she heard the shots, but she didn't see where the shots came from. Then all of a sudden, as soon as she gets this book deal, she changed the story. She says she seen the shot and the gunman taking the shot behind a picket fence. Then she also said, well, there's a dog that Mrs. Kennedy had. Well, Mrs. Kennedy didn't have a dog. So when I'm going to look at the Zapruder film, I'm going to sit there and look at Jean Hill. And I'm seeing that she's looking at the cops behind JFK. JFK's over here when he's being shot, and she's looking this way, as I point out in my videos. So I'm going to sit there and say, okay, well, there's her story, but it's not matching up what she's telling me. What she's telling me is not matching up what I see her reactions, what she's doing. It's not matching up. So her story is false. So if her story is false, that means that gunman behind the picket fence is false. So let me look somewhere else. Let me look somewhere else. And then if I look somewhere else, I want to find and reveal the two gunmen right here inside shelter number 3. Then I go on from there. But see, no one's ever done that before. This is what I'm talking about. If a person comes up to me and says, hey, this is what we have to look at. Now, a lot of researchers look at one vehicle, nobody else in the surroundings, stuff like that. Okay, I can't see it that way as a researcher or even an investigator. This is what we can look at. Even if they brought something up like this to me and said, this is what we got to look at. Basically, they're telling me right there, saying, well, they're getting into details now. They want to make sure that you fully understand. They want to make sure that you know there was people there. There was other people in there. There was follow-up cars there. You know, there's a certain location. You got to see if a shot came from this location, could it made this location? Because, you know, you got 3 men. Okay, you got a gunman shooting from here. Could he make that shot going past these 3 people here and stuff? This is what a research and investigator does. You got to look for a location, a photographic evidence, and people don't understand that. You think that with all the people there with cameras and images and stuff, you don't think no one captured anything? They captured JFK's head opening up, didn't they? So someone had to capture some kind of evidence. That's why I base everything on what can be seen. This is why I base everything on not what's told. What can be seen is what I base my research on. Because the films and images shows us what really took place that day. Just like when people sit there instead pushing this issue, I have not heard one researcher, not one researcher, on the conspiracy side say, well, no, wait a minute, this is not Lee Harvey Oswald. This is Bill Lovelady. No. This is what they're telling us, though. That's Oswald. That's Oswald. When there's films and images shows us, man, this is Bill Lovelady. Testimonies from eyewitnesses, Bill Lovelady. No one's never seen Oswald. Nobody's got testimonies of Oswald being outside, period, during the assassination. Last time he was been reported known where his location was on the 2nd floor of the lunchroom in the Texas School Book Depository. Eating a cheese sandwich. Okay, eating a cheese sandwich, okay, which I cannot find believable. And here's the reason why. Because remember, he only took 1 sack in there that day. The only bag he took in there that day was the so-called curtain rods. But no one's never talked about him or seen him with a lunch bag. So if he has no lunch bag, how can he be eating a cheese sandwich? Okay? Unless he got it off of somebody, and somebody says, hey, I gave him a cheese sandwich. No one's never claimed that. Or Lee Harvey Oswald stole my lunch. No one's never claimed that either as well. Okay? He didn't walk down to the deli and got him a cheese sandwich. Okay? Because he was still at the Texas School Book Depository during lunchtime, and after lunchtime. So, you see what I'm saying? So see, instead of making stories up, this is what gets me. There's no answers for any of their stories. They'll tell me a story, but then I got 1,001 questions that comes to my mind when they tell their story. But if they come across and show me stuff like this, and point this out, point that out, and say this and say that, I can say, yeah, I'll listen to you now. I'll understand. But this is the reason why I keep on telling people, this is why the conspiracy side is losing people. Then the Warren Commission report, every year it comes out when they kind of our anniversary of the JFK assassination, the first things out there is all I was talking about, just the 3 shots. And they have these conspiracy people out there, but we can't believe them because they're these people on the non-conspiracy side is attacking in full force, and they got good answers. I'm not gonna lie about it. They have good answers. Okay, but if you pull out a thing just like this right here, let's say, let's pull this out right here. Say the Mary Mormon photo shows 2 gunmen inside shelter number 3. The Orville Nix film shows 2 shots coming from that location. The Bronson film shows 2 shots from that location. Show these frames, show this image, and show the tramps and stuff like that. And the Darnell film shows the main rifle and stuff like that. What does the people on the non-conspiracy side got to say? Are you telling me what we're seeing is fake? You're telling me what we're seeing is false? You're telling me what we're seeing is a theory? When it's the people that took the images. Because we had the Mormon photo taken in one location. Okay, which I think I have that, if I'm not mistaken. No, I don't, but let's look at this. I'll just pull this up right here and I'll show you. Well, let's see this for a moment. We have the Orville Nix over here. He's filming this way. He's in a different location. We have Mormon standing over here. She's in a different location. We have Darnell over here. He's in a different location. We have Bronson over here. He's in a different location. They're all pointing their cameras and stuff in this location of shelter number 3. And this person over here, Orville Nix and Bronson's capturing shots being fired from that location. Mary Mormon is capturing images of 2 gunmen in there with rifles in their hands. And Darnell from the side view of the shelters capturing a gunman aiming a rifle from his left side. So see what they got to complain about. See, they can't do it now. they can't come back because you're presenting photographic evidence. They're presenting a story. The story's done shot. You blow their case out of water. So see, that's why I talk to people and I talk research and stuff. It's not that I'm smarter than anybody else, because I'm not. Okay, I believe everybody's smart in the same intelligence. Everybody has the same intelligence, because just things that this person knows that this person don't know. Okay, like, can a doctor work on a car? No. A doctor can work on people, but he can't work on cars. This guy over here can't work on people, but he can work on cars. You see what I'm saying? So the intelligence is always the same, no matter which way you look at it. It all depends how you talk or how you pronounce stuff. Just like people says about my grammar, okay? Because my grammar is so bad that, it's hard, to understand. When I talk to people all the time, they understand what I'm talking about. But I just want to make this video here and just explain a little bit more. The reason why I don't go into believing in these JFK researchers on the conspiracy side or non-conspiracy side, because they have no answers for me. All they got in their stories and stuff like that is questions. Okay, questions with no answers. That's what I look for. That's why when I did my investigation and did my research, I had to do it differently. I had to find some answers to go along with what I find. Okay, if you got just something there, just a story, but no answers to back it up, what do you got? You know what I'm saying? This is why people don't believe in the conspiracy side hardly anymore. Even though there's people like it says, oh, there's more people believing in the conspiracy side. No, there isn't. Okay, no, there isn't. I just want to make this video here and just clear out a little bit of stuff right here so people knows this. In the description down below, you find a site where you can order my book, Evidence of Conspiracy. You own a book you need in the JFK assassination. Don't forget to tell your friends, family, friends, relatives. Share this information, all the other information from my other videos and stuff, so they may know that information. Don't forget that subscribe button, and don't forget to like. Thank you, and you have a pleasant, pleasant day.